we are joined from Cairo by the Al-Ahram managing editor, Mr. Mohamed Eldin. Welcome to Qnews, sir. Sir, what are the potential consequences of Israel's reported plan to establish a new Gaza under the military control for Palestinian civilians and regional stability?
Thank you for having me here on Qnews. Of course, the consequences are catastrophic because of this plan that Israel is trying to do to manipulate Sharm El-Sheikh's agreement and Trump's peace plan. And they are trying to actually stall the main point of the agreement that asked them to withdraw from the Gaza Strip. And so first they started with the yellow lines, and now there are the so-called red lines, and they're talking about full-on areas under their full control, not just administrative control, but also military control of these areas under the pretext of security. And so this here is a grave violation of the Sharm El-Sheikh agreement, and it shows that Israel is stalling greatly here so that we don't move to phase 2 of the agreement. And also they are trying to manipulate even the stabilization forces, and they are trying to have the forces in the Gaza Strip under their control or in direct contact with Israel, on the contrary of the agreement of what they agreed on withdrawing from the Gaza Strip. And so it is a new attempt from the Israeli side to stall and hinder Trump's peace plan in the Gaza Strip, and in efforts to satisfy the extremist officials under the pretext of having administrative control in Gaza.
Okay, Mr. Eldin, how could Netanyahu's request for a presidential pardon maybe influence the public trust in the Israeli institutions and the perception of corruption in governance?
Of course, it is a desperate step here, and Netanyahu asked for this because he knows that he will be held accountable in at least 2 of the 3 crimes that he is accused of. And so he's been preparing for this since President Donald Trump's visit and his meeting in the Knesset, and talking publicly for the first time about the importance of a pardon for Netanyahu. And so he is trying to show that him being there is very important for the Israeli cause or the Israeli dream, but he is violating the law here, especially because the opposition forces don't want this at all, and they are demonstrating. And actually, Lapid has talked, the leader of the occupation forces, he talked about not accepting Netanyahu's presence or getting a pardon, and that if he wants this pardon, he needs to plead guilty and to show remorse and to also resign politically. And so these are the main conditions in Israel internally, so that they can consider pardoning him. But what he's talking about is an attempt to save face and to protect his extremist government, and not to have the government actually fail, because especially with the elections
Mr. Eldin, can you tell me maybe how might the standoff between Netanyahu and the opposition figures like maybe Yair Lapid shape Israel's political landscape, particularly regarding the rule of law and electoral dynamics?
Yeah, the first opposer here is Lapid, and this is because of his military operations or in his role in foreign affairs, and he's always talking about peace, and at the same time he isn't giving up Jew, and so he is the perfect candidate here to oppose Netanyahu, especially after being attacked internally and even internationally, and the international condemnations when it comes to having or carrying out genocides in the Gaza Strip, and that it is over for him now internationally, especially that there are calls to arrest him when he visits New York, and this means that the Israeli occupation could actually gather their forces in the negotiations to throw him off his political rule. But this means that he is holding tight to being prime minister, even if this means violating the Sharm El-Sheikh agreement, or even causing Israel more losses and more dollars, millions of dollars actually. According to some of the experts, they've seen this. They had economic losses and trade losses, that they're being boycotted, and so here Netanyahu isn't wanted in the next phase, basically. And as for the far-right extremist government, they are actually supporting him and having his back until the very last minute, until he is announced guilty or until he loses the elections, and then the extremist government will have the new prime minister.
And from Cairo, that was Al-Ahram managing editor, Mr. Mohamed. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Q News.